Good morning, Broncos. It is Mrs. W, and it's actually Thursday, the 10th of November. And you're getting an early video because we are off tomorrow, and so you get a Thursday video. This week at Bay, we had short days for assessments, and so it has been great that teachers have been able to do one-on-one testing with kids. That'll give us a better idea of what kind of information we need to share on the report cards, which go out in the first week of December. On Wednesday, we had a PTA meeting. Thank you for all that attended. And I also had a safety meeting where I had 2 parents and a staff member. We really talked about what are the safety concerns at Bay. So we're going to be talking more about that and changing the safety plan so it really is supportive of our students and our families. No school on Friday, no school tomorrow. And tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so I am grateful for those who serve to keep our country safe. Next week, we have full days of school, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday and Friday are both 1:30 days. And then the week after that is fall break. It's hard to believe. It's like we're almost in the middle of December already. I hope that you all have a wonderful 3-day weekend. Remember, today and every day, it's great to be a Bronco. And I'm going to share the second half of this amazing book. We Are Still Here, Native American Truths Everyone Should Know, by Tracy Strom. Tribal activism. Native citizens continued to speak up, organize, and increase our long-standing commitment to strengthen tribal sovereignty, speak out against termination and relocation, recover our lands and harvest traditional foods, draw attention to Native people's lack of sufficient health care, help students go to college, including on tribal lands. With our collective voice and presence, Native nations say, we are still here. You notice there's the Golden Gate Bridge in the background? Self-determination. Native nations needed more control of our own lives, so we pushed back on federal rules that oversaw nearly every part of life on our lands. To support tribal sovereignty, the United States passed laws that recognize that our governments could handle our own affairs, helped Native nations offer programs and services directly to our citizens, restored many terminated tribes to federally recognized status, allowed some tribes to recover lands lost during allotment and termination. That's a big deal, to be able to recover those lands that were lost. While pressuring Congress to carry out these laws, our Native nations repeatedly say, I bet you can say this with me, we are still here. Indian child welfare and education. Native nations care about the welfare and education of our children. We needed to stop officials in various states from removing thousands of our children from their families and placing them in non-native homes. Native nations prompted Congress to approve laws that blocked state officials from taking our children without notifying our tribe, focused on Native children staying with family or other tribal citizens, address specific education needs of Native children in our communities. To protect and provide for our future generations, Native nations say, we are still here. Religious freedom. Native people challenged federal and local laws and policies that had banned us from freely practicing our traditional religions. Native nations sought help from the U.S. Supreme Court so that we could practice our beliefs and ceremonies. Tribes could access sacred sites outside our lands. Tribal citizens could keep and use sacred objects. When the court did not support us, Native nations sought support from Congress to say, we are still here. So they went to the courts, who didn't support them, so they decided to go above the heads of the courts and go to Congress because they knew that they deserved these protections. Economic development. Tribal leaders noticed our people failing financially, while others in the United States succeeded. Some Native nations opened casinos as a way to make money on our lands where few opportunities existed. This type of business allows those tribes to vary how people earn a living and care for themselves, use profits to develop businesses and employment, pay for important services like police, fire stations, and healthcare, offer scholarships and after-school programs, as well as operate tribally run schools. Even though the federal government regulates tribal casinos, Native nations say, "We are still here." Language revival. Native nations want to increase the number of tribal language speakers. This is necessary to pass on values, stories, and ceremonies to future generations. Seeking to preserve our cultures, Native nations urged Congress to approve laws to encourage teaching Native languages in schools, allow our Native speakers to teach in classrooms, give financial grants to tribes and schools for language programs. Speaking Indigenous languages strengthens our heritage, so each Native nation says, in our own language, "We are still here." Sovereign resurgence. Having survived disease, war, and federal rules meant to destroy us and our way of life, Native nations continue to exercise our sovereignty. Together we take action to speak up for the land, water, and resources everyone needs to live. Look after our citizens' health, education, and safety. Share information with the United Nations about our treatment in the United States. Work together to shape federal and state policies that affect our citizens. All the while we say, "We are still here." This looks like a protest to me. And their signs say, "Defend the sacred. Water is life. Indigenous strength. Native lives matter. Indigenous Peoples March. Be part of the movement, be part of the history, be part of the change. Say no to racist mascots. Respect Indigenous sovereignty. Native nations rise. We exist, we resist, we rise." Look. So for Indigenous Peoples Day, all of these students did presentations on all the different things that we learned about in this book. We are still here. This book also has lots of information. If your class would like to borrow it, please let me know. And a timeline. Remember, we had Larry Itliong's book had a timeline of his life. This is a timeline of the history of relations and treaty making between Native nations and the United States. We are still here. Native American truths everyone should know. I hope that you enjoyed learning about history, and I hope that you have a wonderful 3-day weekend, Broncos. I will see you on Monday, and remember, today and every day, it's great to be a Bronco. Bye, Broncos.